I want to start this video off by saying I think it's completely normal to feel a little bit of the pressure and a little bit glum based on some of the circumstances we've had. Sometimes I'll look and my anxiety will be feeling a little high, or I'll be feeling a little sad and I'm not sure what's going on, but then when I take a deeper look at it, I'm like, oh right, global pandemic. But the thing is, you guys, right now we are faced with a choice. We can either leave this situation the same or worse off as we came into it, or we can actually make our lives better. Think of it this way. What are some of the complaints that you had before the whole Coco situation went down? For me, a lot of my stress came from the fact that I was so on the go. I had so much busy work going on that I was absolutely miserable. Busyness dictated my life. I know a huge concern for a lot of people is a lack of time. How do we find enough time to meal prep? How do we find enough time to move our bodies every single day when we're nurses or parents or spouses and we just have so much going on in our busy lives? I know how sucky it feels to just feel like you don't have the time to do the tough things that you want to do in order to make our life better. The thing is that things are different now than they have ever been before. And the magic in that is that means that we as people can make our lives different than they've ever been before. We can make ourselves better, our whole lives better. It's kind of like we've all had this chance to reset on a global spectrum, which is really cool. It's not often that we all quite literally get to go through the same things together. Today, I'm breaking down for you exactly how I stay motivated and sane in the craziness that has been the 20s so far. The first thing that you've got to do is you got to get enough good food, water, and electrolytes in your system. If we don't get the energy we need from our food, then we're not getting energy. It is so hard to even try to feel inspired to do better when you start off your days exhausted. You guys know the rules. I like to recommend drinking at least 2 to 4 liters of water a day, taking pink Himalayan salt on most, if not all of your meals, and making sure that you get enough good proteins, carbs, and fats in your day. Another thing that I do is that I am very particular about where I spend the time and energy that I do have. Here's one of my favorite quotes for you guys. A plane can't land until the coast is clear. Sometimes our blessings are stuck up in the air because of our environment. There's just too much mess on the landing strip. When we spend our time and energy on things that don't fulfill us, we lose the pep in our step. We're exhausted, and even the smallest obstacle or the smallest challenge can feel impossible. It's time to set some goals for ourselves, set some standards, ditch the things that we don't love to make room for the things that we do. Once I've created some goals and I've cleared the landing strip of all of the things that are draining me, I like to make a to-do list. But hear me out. This is a to-do list that only ever has 3 things on it. If you put too many things on your list, then you are never going to reach the bottom, and that feeling sucks. I break my monthly, my weekly, and my daily goals down this way. I find that it really helps me be able to focus on the things that are important in my life and will bring me joy and success, and kind of just stop focusing so much on the things that I might be doing to please other people or just because I kind of thought that I had to. I find it so much easier when at any given point I know I only have a maximum of 3 things on my to-do list, and ticking each thing off is just so satisfying. Which brings me to my next point. The most important part about creating motivation for yourself is activating our dopamine. Economic Times describes dopamine as the molecule that drives you to seek reward in achieving goals and enables you to take the effort required to be successful. On the other hand, low levels of dopamine are actually linked to reduced motivation and decreased enthusiasm for things that would normally bring people joy. So if you're feeling regularly bummed out these days, pandemic aside, low dopamine levels could be the culprit. So we have these little neurotransmitters in our brains, dopamine, and it not only makes you feel better, but it actually drives you to be more successful. So how do we make more dopamine? Before I give up my 3 favorite tips in terms of building dopamine in our systems and creating motivation in our lives, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel so that you never miss one of my inspiration or fitness videos. My goal is about reaching as many people as possible to help them demystify and get on top of their health and fitness. Dopamine creation tip number 1. I work out almost every single day. In fact, the positive hormonal benefits that I get from exercise is the reason that I work out. Crushing a great workout is one of the most excellent ways to be able to not only have that sense of achievement and get that dopamine flowing, but you also get to take advantage of some of the other hormonal health and aesthetic benefits. Getting outside, moving your body is a fantastic way to not only get some exercise, but to also really clear your head and get some of those happy hormones flowing, especially when you're able to get outside in the trees and the fresh air. Does a girl's heart good. Get out there, give it a try, and let me know what you think. Dopamine creation tip number 2. You gotta be eating more protein. So I know that this is in every one of my chatting videos, but it's so important. So the thing about protein is it's actually made up of amino acids, which you can essentially think of as little building blocks of protein. But the thing is that one of those amino acids is called L-tyrosine. And the thing about L-tyrosine is that it can actually be converted in our body into dopamine. So that's very cool. The more protein we eat, the more building blocks we have in our system to be able to create dopamine. Whether you are a plant eater or a meat eater or whatever you got going on, you got to get you more protein. And for the 3rd and final dopamine creation tip, you guys, this one is the absolute most important. You got to be getting enough sleep. It's so important that we not only get a good sleep, but that we get regularly good sleep. The thing is that our dopamine levels are actually going to be higher in the morning when we first wake up. One of the things that dopamine does for us is it creates wakefulness. It helps us feel alive. And what happens, unfortunately, is if we don't get a good night's sleep, then that morning boost of dopamine just isn't going to be there. So essentially, you're starting your day pre-exhausted, which I'm pretty sure you can see how that is not going to help us be more successful, sane, and motivated in 2021. My tip, you guys, is try to get to bed at a reasonable time. You want to aim for those 8 hours of sleep a night, and I highly recommend of always trying to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time as well. So I know it feels super duper good when you can sleep in for hours and hours on your day off, but I promise you might actually feel better for the rest of the week if you just got up closer to a normal time. Maybe take an extra half hour or hour of shut-eye, but definitely don't oversleep, because just like undersleeping, that can really throw off our circadian rhythm or our natural clock. Above all else, remember not to wait for motivation, but to create it yourself. Motivation is driven by accomplishments, and those accomplishments can be something as small as just brushing your teeth. Start your day with the small wins, and just like that, your life will become more and more successful.